Hey world. I posted a vlog a couple of days ago called What I Don't Believe About God, and I've gotten quite a few comments, video responses, and emails as a result. In this video, I'm going to be responding to these responses, and in so doing, hopefully my views about God will be clarified even further. So let's get started. I received this email. Hi Dan, I was watching your recent post on God and what you don't believe. While watching, one thing that struck me was how throughout the blog you referred to God without using any gender-specific pronouns, apart from near the end where you said, God never really shows herself. I was wondering why you referred to God as being female. I look forward to hearing from you. Kind regards, Montage. This is probably the most common observation people have made about my last vlog. Towards the end, I discreetly sort of refer to God as being a female. Why? Well, one of the main reasons I even post vlogs is to make people think, but true comprehensive thought requires an open mind. When it comes to the subject of God, however, people tend to be very closed-minded. It's like whatever they have been taught is absolutely true, nothing can be done to change their mind, and they won't even allow themselves to entertain a dissenting thought. So to make them think, you've got to get tricky. I slipped in the herself very deliberately to try to catch people off guard a little bit, because it's been my experience that when people are caught off guard, whether they want to or not, they tend to think with a more open mind. I don't really think God is female. I mean, I don't really know whether or not God even exists. But if God does exist, I would tend to think that God would transcend gender completely. God is not male, God is not female, God is just God. Moving on. In response to my saying that I don't believe in perfection, I received a lot of comments like this one. What is perfect? What if God wanted to make the world exactly the way it is? In that case, isn't it perfect in his eyes? From YouTube username DavyDaveDave2006. Dave, I think you hit the nail on the head when you said in his eyes. See, the concept of perfection is fluid. I mean, it's a matter of opinion. God can look down at Earth, and in his eyes, yeah, maybe it's perfect. In my eyes, however, it's not. As I see things, any creation, any great plan that involves or even just allows for things like the Holocaust to happen is not perfect. Going beyond that, however, as I see things, this imperfect creation implies that if there is in fact a creator, that it is an imperfect creator. If God intended for this world to be perfect, then as I see things, God, quite frankly, failed, making God imperfect in my eyes. Even if the world is exactly how God intended, then in my eyes, God is still imperfect. I mean, any being whose master plan includes things like rape, murder, genocide, famine, disease, etc., is imperfect. Here's another email with a hypothetical I've actually been presented with quite a few times since I posted my last vlog. If you don't believe in hell, where do you think people like Hitler would go in the afterlife? I mean, I wouldn't think that God would let them into heaven. From John. The Hitler dilemma, I've got to admit, it's a real pickle. I don't believe in hell. I'm skeptical about the concept of an afterlife. But if there is an afterlife and there is no hell, then where is the justice for indisputably evil people like Hitler? To be honest here, I have no freaking idea what happens after death. Maybe after dying, we're just dead. Maybe we're buried, decaying, and that's all she wrote. Maybe when we die, we become ghosts and we just walk the earth doing ghost things. Boo, I'm scary. Maybe when we die, there's a higher plane of existence, like a heaven or something that we go to. Or maybe death just brings something completely different, something totally beyond human comprehension. When it comes to death, all I can say for certain is that nobody knows for certain what happens after it happens. With regards to the Hitler dilemma, however, here's some food for thought. If there is a God, if there is a heaven, if God is all loving, if God is all forgiving, and if grace is true, then maybe Hitler's in heaven. There's one more question I've received since posting my last video that I'm going to address, and this one came in a comment. If you're unsure about God, would it hurt to believe just in case it's all true? If it's not, what have you got to lose? From YouTube username Big Black Dan. You know, I've thought about this before, and actually at first glance, it seems like a pretty good idea. Even if the concept of God seems illogical to me, why not hedge my bets? Why not worship him just in case he's there? Well, after putting a little bit more thought into this, I decided that it's actually not such a good idea for a couple of reasons. First of all, if there is a God, and that God is smart enough to have created everything, then they'd also probably be smart enough to know that my belief wasn't all that sincere. More importantly, however, I just don't like the idea of being dishonest with myself. I believe what I believe, and I don't know if I could even handle living my life in a way that is inconsistent with those beliefs. All that I know for certain is that right now, I have this life, be it some sort of miracle of nature or some sort of gift from the Creator. I know that right now I exist. But this may be all that I've got. I am determined to do great things. I am determined to live my life to the fullest, but that's not possible if I'm not being completely honest about who I am. So who am I? I am Dan Brown. I am an agnostic, and while I have my beliefs, and while those beliefs may very well be wrong, I am not about to live my life in fear that they are. So to wrap this all up, I'm not sure if there is or isn't a God, and I don't believe it's possible for anyone to know one way or the other. If there is a God, I ask that they would please reveal themselves clearly and obviously. It would make this whole thing a whole lot easier. And if there is no God, well, okay, I guess that's it. Except for one thing. If God does not exist, if God is just an idea, then remember this. Ideas can still be powerful. Ideas can still change the world. So use them wisely. I'm Dan Brown, and I'm out. If you like what you just saw, if Dan put you in a state of awe, subscribe to him and click the orange button. It really means something. If you do that, that'd be really cool.